Well, I'm joined in the studio by the former Cabinet Minister, the Conservative MP Oliver Letwin, who's backing Theresa May's deal, and by the MP Peter Bone, who isn't, and from Oxfordshire by the former Deputy Prime Minister, Lord Heseltine. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us. Peter Bone, has Jacob Rees-Mogg made rather a dreadful calculation? Has he got anywhere near 48?
Well, I don't know how many letters have gone in, but I think Jacob's position was he tried and tried to change the government's policy. He didn't want to get rid of Theresa May, but he's failed to change the policies, made the decision that the only way the policy will be changed is by changing the Prime Minister.
So you think that he's pretty certain that he's going to get his 48 letters?
I think anyone who predicts anything on this is taking a big risk. I have no idea.
But is your letter one of them?
Oh, I sent my letter in for the same reason, yes.
And have you had a call to say, does it still stand?
I don't think that will happen. I think that's a fallacy that Sir Graham is going to ring round people and say, your letter in. As soon as the first person gets that phone call, it'll be leaked to the media and everyone will know the 48 letters have gone in. I don't think that happens. I think once the letter's gone in, it's in. And you'd be pretty stupid not to tell Sir Graham you don't want it to count at this point in stage if you don't want it to count.
So your letter very much counts. And have you been actually speaking to your colleagues, urging them to get their letters in? No,
I think it's up to every Member of Parliament to make this decision. It's a very, very difficult decision to put a letter of no confidence in against a party leader. I never thought I would do that. Never did it when David Cameron was Prime Minister.
Well, what do you feel about making that decision? Because as you said, your letter's been in for a long time.
Well, the problem is this isn't the Brexit, in my view, that the people voted for. It's the most important thing that I will ever deal with in my political career. And it seems to me the only way we're going to get the Brexit that the people voted for is to change the policy, and the only way to change the policy now is to change the Prime Minister.
Lord Heseltine, you hear that now. Do you think Theresa May made a miscalculation of just how much opposition there was to this deal?
I think she knew there was an implacable group of right-wing Tories who were going to fight it all the way through. They were there with John Major. They have grown in strength and size, and they're quite determined and utterly ruthless. If she didn't understand that, it was a serious political misjudgment.
And we hear tonight that Michael Gove is not going to take the job of Brexit Secretary. It might, for him, be rather a thankless task anyway. There may be more resignations. What do you make of what is happening tonight in these cabinet resignations today?
Look, it's important to ask those sort of questions, but we're dealing with the most important peacetime decision of my lifetime. This is about the future role of Britain, the future prosperity of Britain, about a new generation of Britons who are going to live with the consequence of this. It is a disastrous decision. It was built on false prospectus in a referendum, and the only way out of it is to go back to the people, tell them that they've seen what has happened, of the chaos that has developed, of the downward consequences and no upsides, and give them a chance to decide whether they really want to proceed with this folly. All the evidence in the polling is that they will say, no, we are better off in Europe, and that would be right.
Oliver Letwin, you hear that said, from the point of view of the country, we are in a mess. The figures don't add up. You say you support Theresa May, but if she doesn't get it through Parliament, what then?
Well, Kirsty, before you get to the question, what if something doesn't happen, you have to ask the question, can we get it to happen?
Or can you? How do you get it to happen?
I think very possibly, yes. Like Peter, I've given up forecasting for Lent, in fact, more or less for life. But, like Michael, I voted to remain. Like Peter, I've helped to get the bill through so that we could fulfil the mandate of the people in the referendum. And what the Prime Minister's been trying to do is to bring those two things together. She's been trying to give us a prosperous future at the same time as fulfilling the mandate. That's very difficult to do. She's come up with a deal. I think now what we have to do is to try and get that deal through, and then we'll see what happens.
But politics hang on, the figures simply don't add up. Labour said it doesn't meet the 6 tests, the DUP aren't supporting it, the SNP are not supporting it.
Are you saying that you know the outcome of the parliamentary vote on 10th of December?
Do you honestly believe...
No, but are you saying that you know what it is?
Of course I don't, but right. I know what people are saying.
Given that you don't know, and I don't know,
yes,
I think the sensible thing is to back her and try and make it happen, and then we'll see whether it happens or it doesn't happen.
Realpolitik here. Do you really think on the basis of what people are saying today, do you really think on the basis of the resignations of Dominic Raab, Esther McVeigh, possibly more to come, the refusal of Michael Gove to be the new Brexit secretary, it doesn't look very rosy?
Kirsty, your profession consists of making big news out of things. My profession consists of trying to produce a sensible result for the people of our country. And I'm trying to do that. And I think we might well be able to do it. And I'd be delighted to come on your programme on the 11th of December if we have done it. And then you can explain to me how you knew it wasn't going to happen when I was explaining to you how we were going to try to make it happen. And this is a good deal, so we should make it happen.
Peter Bone.
Well, Oliver's right. Predicting this sort of thing is really rather risky to do. And of course,
but
we don't.
You agree with Michael Heseltine that is the biggest peacetime decision.
It's the first time I think I've agreed with Lord Heseltine in my life.
Yes,
He's absolutely right.
It's very important.
But the point is, what Oliver also hasn't pointed out, because we don't know what amendments might be put to the so there's a whole lot of a parliamentary process. Who knows where that's going to end up?
But amendments on the basis of the deal is not going to be changed by the EU before you actually put it to the parliamentary vote.
Well, I understand the Procedure Committee at the House of Commons has recommended that amendments should be taken before the main vote. So you could have an amended withdrawal bill put to Parliament. It might actually be the government saying don't vote for it if it's amended in a way they don't like. But it is not clear what will happen.
Is it more likely, Lord Heseltine, do you think that we are heading for a no deal? Or, like Oliver Letwin, do you think that actually the numbers are suddenly going to magically add up?
No, look, I appreciate Oliver and Peter's reluctance to forecast. I don't have any such reluctance. The moment that I saw the Chequers deal, I said this won't go through Parliament. I tell you, it will not go through Parliament. There aren't the votes for it, and nor should it. Now, the big and therefore the critical issue is how quickly we can reach that decision, because the clock is ticking. We're scheduled to leave in March of next year, and the idea we're going to spend another month without anyone knowing what's going to happen is a terrible waste of time. Are we, for example, going to spend billions of pounds preparing to avoid turning Kent into a lorry park? So time is of the essence. But my own view is that Parliament will not accept this deal, and therefore there would be a risk of no deal, but I don't believe that the good sense of the parliamentarians will let that happen. So there will be some coming together within Parliament to produce a way out, and I think myself the most obvious way for that to happen would be agreement to a second referendum.
A second referendum of Oliver Letwin.
Well, I don't think it's likely that there would be agreement on that, because I think many of us are persuaded that once the people have voted, we should respect that. I do agree with Michael that it would be a very bad thing indeed to crash out without a deal. And I do think that there is a substantial majority of parliamentarians of all kinds who agree with that. And therefore, I think in the end, Parliament will find a way, either this deal or some other such, of preventing that from happening.
Would you be unhappy about crashing out without a deal and just go to WTO?
Well, I really don't think it's crashing out. I think Oliver's using a strong language which doesn't apply. I mean, Oliver would have voted for the same Act of Parliament that I did, that said if we will come out on 29th of March, and if there is no deal, we will come out on WTO rules. That was passed by a very large majority, if I recall, and Oliver was definitely would have voted for it. So Oliver knows what would happen if we don't have a deal, which I assume is why you're... Yes, yeah. And so, I think a bad deal, this is a bad deal. I think no deal is better than a bad deal, and this is a bad deal.
So let's say that you get your way and you somehow topple Theresa May. What then?
Well, I think I said what I really would like to see the policy change. If Theresa May won't check, you will understand that point. What would then happen, of course, would be up to the members of the Conservative Party in the country to choose whoever they wanted, and that person would have a mandate to deliver it.
But the point is, presumably, you haven't embarked upon your letter and everything else if you didn't have in mind the kind of person with the kind of Brexit policy that you want to lead the party.
Yes, I certainly have no name, but it seems to me that it should be somebody who is a leaver. It should be somebody who attracts, obviously, the majority opinion of Conservative members in the country.
And who would that be?
Well,
seriously.
I don't mind who it is, as long as they are of that qualification.
Oliver Letwin, do you see another leader at this moment getting a different kind of better, some might say, Brexit deal?
Oh, I don't think we're going to have another leader. I don't know any more than Peter does or anybody else how many letters there are or will be it's quite interesting that we are now at whatever it is, 10:30 at night, and it hasn't happened yet. It may or it may not happen. What I'm very confident of is that there is a really large majority of Conservative MPs at the moment who will vote to keep the Prime Minister in being, because actually I think she's doing a fine job. And incidentally, I've noticed, I think Peter agrees with this too, I've noticed people right across the spectrum, Labour members, Conservative members, Vince Cable on your programme, of all dispositions, all saying, gosh, this is a very remarkable woman. She's doing an astonishing job.
It's the last roll of the dice. It's the last roll of the dice. You've got Michael Gove saying he's not going to be Brexit Secretary. Who knows if his resignation's coming?
Well, it's more fun to call it the last roll of the dice. What I would say is it's yet another example of Theresa May being underestimated and continuing against all the odds and getting there.
Thank you all very much.